Namaskar. You are most welcome to my channel Legal Outlook. Today we are going to see a very important aspect on the will and the probate proceeding. A very important question arises. Who can object or protest in the probate proceeding of a will? And what are the criteria for that objections? If we put in the simple word, then it can be replied that a person having caveatable interest in the estate of the testator can object to the proceeding related to will. As you all know that the natural meaning the word caveat would mean right to protest. So the question arises, and which is a very important question in the life of an advocate who are pursuing the probate proceeding or a person who is going in the probate proceeding. That question is, what is the caveatable interest within the meaning of the Indian Succession Act 1925? And this was the question before Supreme Court in a very important case. And the fact of that case may be in your memory, as it was a very famous case, and just stretch your memory and you remember that. Okay, let me tell you some basic, to give you the basic ideas. Srimati Priyambada Birla and her husband Madhav Birla were very wealthy person, and they owned a lot of industry, lot of properties, and they were owner of the industrial empire known as the MP Birla Group of Industries. They had no issue. They were known for their charitable work. They used to run several charitable institutions in India. They executed mutual will. Husband and wife executed mutual will on the identical terms in 1981. They bequeathed most of the properties to the respective estate to the other, husband to wife and wife to husband. And on the death of the survivor of the two, executor was to take care of the charities they were doing. In 1982, just 1 year after the making of the first will, they revoked that will and they prepared another set of will, mutual will, and that the 4 executors were appointed in each set of will. Unfortunately, Madhav Birla died in July 1990. Priyambada Birla executed her last will in 1999, bequeathing her entire estate to her chartered accountant Rajendra Singh Lodha. He was also appointed as the sole executor, and she also executed a codicil in 15th April 2003, and that too in the favor of Rajendra Singh Lodha. Priyambada Birla died in July 2004. Thereafter, Rajendra Lodha filed a probate proceeding in Kolkata High Court, and Srimati Lakshmi Newar and Srimati Radha Mohata, who were the sisters of Madhav Birla, were arrayed as an opponent and as the legal representative of the testatrix Priyambada Birla. A series of caveats were filed from the families of Birlas, like by Krishan Kumar Birla, by Basant Kumar Birla, and Yashovardhan Birla, Ganga Prasad Birla, to oppose the grant of probate in favor of Rajendra Singh Lodha of the 1999 will. Learned single judge of Calcutta High Court allowed the said application. Thereafter Rajendra Singh Lodha filed an application to discharge those all caveats, because caveators were not in the interest with the estate of the deceased testator. So learned single judge allowed all the application filed by Lodha and this application, and allowed the application and discharges all the caveats filed by Krishan Kumar Birla and Basant Kumar Birla, Yashovardhan Birla, and allowed, and the caveat filed by Ganesh Prasad Birla was retained. So only Ganesh Prasad Birla was retained, rest all caveats were discharged. Mr. Rajendra Lodha also filed a caveat in the proceeding of probate of 1982 wills of Priyambada Birla, and that was also dismissed. that caveat, the discharge of the caveat was also dismissed. Anyway, the High Court dismissed. Thereafter, they went to the division bench of Calcutta High Court and filed the cross objections, and all those were dismissed by the division bench also. And so there were 6 SLP filed in Supreme Court and against the orders of the division bench of Calcutta High Court. Before further going, let me thank you for supporting my channel in last 14 months, and today is very special, and this video is very special because it is my 100th video, and even I'm overwhelmed with the response of my viewers, and particularly the way they encouraged that I came along in this journey and successfully completed to come into this 100th video. The case I am discussing is of the name of Krishna Kumar Birla versus Rajendra Singh Lodha, and that was decided by Supreme Court on 38th March 2008, and the bench was of Justice S.B. Sinha and Justice Harjeet Singh Bedi. The judgment is written by Justice S.B. Sinha, who has a vast knowledge on particularly these civil laws. 3 stalwarts were opposing, from the side of Birlas. First Ram Jethmalani, then Sri K.K. Venugopal and Arun Jaitley. They all argued as a petitioner of this appeal, appellant of this appeal on behalf of the Birlas. Their main argument was that a caveat is maintainable by common ancestors and near relatives of the testator. And Krishna Kumar Birla was also an executor of the will of the husband of Priyambada Birla. The second argument was the caveators had an obligation to see that the will of Madhav Birla be made effective in letter and spirit, and particularly to oversee the charitable work for which he was known, and for that purpose he executed the will. They argued that 1999 will of Priyambada Birla is bogus and is with forgery, and that is not a genuine will. The fourth argument was that there are various suits, various cases pending against each other and involving dissolved wills. So, and these persons are involved in those suits, so they have a caveatable interest, and so they are a necessary party and genuine party in this probate proceeding. The other argument was raised by them, these 3 stalwarts of legal field war, that the will of 1982 were for charitable purpose, and there was a trust examining it, and they are family member of that family, and they are member of that trust, so they are also having their interest and caveatable interest. From side of Rajendra Singh Lodha, Harish Salve was the advocate, and he gave a series of arguments, and those all arguments were very favorably considered by Supreme Court. The first thing is, the first argument and first thing Mr. Salve said, that a caveatable interest means a real interest, which the caveator could derive in the estate of the deceased in the event the grant of probate is refused. So the catch point is, if the grant of probate is refused, then the person who is having caveatable interest must have some say in the property, must have some interest in the property. Next, there is no possibility that any person other than legal heirs is to have any interest in the estate of the deceased, and none of the Birlas who had caveat petition in the proceeding were the legal heir. Next thing, this Mr. Salve argued that a caveatable interest being different from the right of a person to oppose the grant of a will on the basis of title. So in the probate proceeding, the title is not important. The importance is that you must be a legal heir, or if the probate is refused, then you should have some share in the property, some interest in the property. Next argument was the consideration in regard to the locus standi to maintain a suit under section 92 of the Code of Civil Procedure is irrelevant here for determination of issue of caveatable interest in the probate proceeding. The claim of having a caveatable interest in their capacity as agnates is wholly unsustainable, as in this case sisters of Madhav Birla are alive and they are made a party in the probate proceeding, so other persons are not having any caveatable interest in the property, and particularly in the light of the 1999 will. 1982 will of Madhav Birla is not affected by the 1999 will, because the present caveators here are not legatees in the 1982 will. So neither they are legatee in 1982 will nor in 1999 will, so they do not have any caveatable interest. Now let us see what the law says. The laws, particularly section 284 of the Act, provides for the lodging of caveat against the grant of probate or letter of administration for a will. Section 284 does not lay down any qualification or disqualification for the caveator, and this is all left to the court which is conducting the caveat proceeding, probate proceeding, and to see in the each case in the fact and circumstances of that case. The jurisdiction here, it is very important to point out that the jurisdiction of a probate case is very limited, and that is there only to consider the genuineness of the will and its due execution in sound mind of the testator. The bottom line is a person to whom a citation is to be issued or a caveator must have some interest in the estate of the testator. Any person claiming any interest adverse to the testator or his estate cannot maintain caveat application before the probate court. His remedy is there, but not in the probate court. He can file suit or anything. Or particularly, it is important to say that any person disputing that right of a deceased testator to deal with certain property in his own way cannot be properly regarded as having interest in the estate of the deceased, because what he is claiming is adverse to the interest of the testator, so he is not having any caveatable interest in the probate proceeding. For example, a testator enters into an agreement for sale entitling the vendee to file a suit for a specific performance of the contract. But this does not create a caveatable interest in the probate proceeding. When probate is granted, such an agreement would be binding or both on the either on executor or the legal representative of the deceased. But that person who has entered into a agreement to sell, and particularly for purchasing that property of the testator, is not having any caveatable interest. So the proposition of law to sustain a caveatable interest, these points we can refer. First, when the claim of grant of probate, a prejudice is caused to the line of succession. I mean to say here that if the natural heir's right is affected, if the probate is granted, or if the probate is refused, then they are the beneficiary. So they are the person who are having the caveatable interest in the property. Whatever would be the interest of the testator, the same must be accepted, and the rule laid down there must be followed. Any person questioning the existence of the capacity of the title of the testator to dispose the property by will on the ground outside the law of succession would be a stranger to the probate proceeding, because as none of such rights can be effectively adjudicated here, because the probate court has a very limited jurisdiction that cannot decide the title, that cannot decide the other issues related with the property. And particularly in this case of Birlas, Madhav Birla had two sisters, and if the probate is not granted, they will be in the interest of the estate of the testatrix. So their rights are definite and clear, and they are having very clear caveatable interest in the property. There is one important point I'd like to share with you, that a will is executed when the owner of the property wants that his or her property is to devolve to some other person, or to in different way than the natural succession, that is in the case of Hindu Succession Act, if he dies intestate. So he wants to dispose of his property and to give the property different from the normal line of succession. So the normal persons who are in the normal line of succession have a caveatable interest. Any person other than this natural heir must ordinarily show a special interest in the estate of the testator. Such a special interest may be in the form of creditor of the deceased. Caveat can be entertained at the instance of the person who has the contingent interest. But in any case, a tenant occupying the premises belonging to the testator was held not to have any caveator interest in the property. So if a will is there and the will is of the testator and his tenant is coming that he has interest in that property, so he should be made a party in the probate proceeding? No, he doesn't have any caveatable interest in the property. A judgment rendered in the probate proceeding is a judgment in rem, but here title cannot be determined. If a probate is taken on fraud, of course the remedy lies in the revocation of the grant of, in terms of grant of probate in terms of section 263 of the Act. In Birla's case, Birlas are not the legatee of the said will. They are not the beneficiary they are under. They are being merely executors, and if two of them were in executors, so merely being an executor does not clothe him in the caveat by reason that they do not derive any caveatable interest in the estate of Priyambada Birla. Supreme Court wrote an interesting epilogue in this case, because Supreme Court noted that there was a disturbing trend in this case, that each party for good or bad reason is opposing each other's application, and so the process is being delayed. So Supreme Court dismissed the appeal filed by the Birlas and put a cost of rupees 2,50,000 to be deposited with the West Bengal Legal Services Authority. And Supreme Court even wrote to the High Court that first 99 will should be, probate proceedings should be taken, then thereafter a 1982 will, and that must be completed within as swiftly, as fast as possible. Here I think that to avoid the delay in legal proceeding related with the probate, the jurisdiction of probate court must be made more extensive, because this is my take. I am a lawyer, I am participating in the various proceedings related to the probate proceeding. What I feel that, suppose a person is granted will, probate of the will, certificate of probate of the will, and thereafter the other person is going in different litigation, there are multifarious litigation. So if what I feel at this stage, because this act is made in 1925, almost 96 years have passed, and the entirely different social setup and economical setup is now in our country, and so we need a law commission which should revisit the entire provision of Indian Succession Act and give some provision to the court which can expedite the proceeding. Because recently I was reading one judgment where the probate proceeding granted was cancelled by Supreme Court after 40 years. Then again re-proceeding started. So this 40 years and then again the remand of the case and starting of the same process, it's very difficult. So what I feel that the court, the jurisdiction of the probate court should make more extensive, and other mechanisms should be in place to expedite the process. Thank you very much for watching. Namaskar.